Don Freaks is the most mysterious character in Hunter x Hunter. We really do not know a lot about him, but today I'm going to be going over what we do know and what has he been doing the entire time that he has been on the Dark Continent. But before we get to that, make sure that you like and subscribe for more. There are 3 things that we know for sure about Don Freaks. 1, that he traveled to the Dark Continent over 300 years ago. 2, that we believe he went there with the goal of writing Journey to the New World East and West Edition about the Dark Continent. And 3, that he is probably related to Gon and Jing Freaks. I say probably because it has not been confirmed in the manga whether Don is directly related to Jing and Gon. However, it would be a huge coincidence if they shared the same last name. We know that Don has finished the East Edition of the Journey to the New World, but we do not have a ton of information about the West Edition. In the manga, Jing explains 3 reasons why they may not have the West Edition. 1, it could be that Don died while writing it. 2, it could be that Don finished it and then died and they just haven't found the West Edition. Or 3, that Don is still writing it. Personally, I'm going with the 3rd one because I can't believe that Togashi would put something like that out there where Don is directly related, more than likely, to the main character, and then have it not come back to be that in the future. So I really believe that Don is still alive and is still writing it. But then that raises the question, how could Don survive somewhere that dangerous for 300 or more years? You see, that question is twofold. How does he survive, and how does he survive for that long? So we're going to tackle the first question first. How does he survive? We know from him finishing the Journey to the New World East Edition that he has traversed all of the east side, or at least most of the east side of the Dark Continent. So from that, we can reasonably assume that the Journey to the New World East Edition is a first-hand account of his experience on the east side, and he has just documented everything that he's seen, everything he's found, all the dangers that he has come across. But then that also means that he would have had to be up close and personal with a lot of the dangerous things on the east side and survive to write about it. So that leaves us with 2 ways that he would have been able to do that. Way number 1 is that he is extremely strong, stronger than anything else on the Dark Continent. So when he is traveling, he doesn't need to worry about anything else due to his immense strength. Way number 2 is that he is extremely stealthy, and he is able to traverse the east side without gaining attention and being able to avoid pretty much all confrontation. Really, I believe that is probably a combination between these 2 things, where he is extremely stealthy and able to avoid a lot of the dangers and still be able to write about them, but that he is also extremely strong, where if he gets himself into a pinch or a bind, he is strong enough to either escape or fight off whatever is causing that confrontation. So all in all, I believe that he is both extremely strong and stealthy, just not overwhelmingly so of either one of those things, and that is how he's able to get by on the Dark Continent. As Isaac Netero said, that there is no getting by, there is no challenge, there's only survival on the Dark Continent. So he's strong enough and stealthy enough to survive. So that takes us back to our second question, which is, how is he able to survive for that long? As we know, the human race is generally capped at being able to live to 100, 120 years, somewhere in there. However, we know in the Hunter x Hunter universe that is not exactly the case. We know from the anime and manga that Isaac Netero was over 120 years old, and he only died when he did because of the fight with Meruem, where if he didn't die in that fight, he is probably living at least several more years. So from that, we can assume that the human race in Hunter x Hunter could live to 130 to 150 years at the absolute most. Even then, Don Freaks is said to be twice as old as the oldest human is. So how is that possible? The simple answer is Nitro Rice. In the manga, Jing and Beyond Netero give us enough information to know that there are several treasures in the Dark Continent, and every time an expedition goes to the Dark Continent, they are generally after some sort of treasure. In the expeditions that they have taken to the Dark Continent, they have came away with 5 separate treasures, and those are the Unmanned Rock, the Trinity Elixir, the Metallion, the Herb for All Illnesses, and Nitro Rice. The one we care about here is Nitro Rice. Nitro Rice is known to greatly extend one's life. So that means if Don was able to survive and find Nitro Rice, that means he essentially can live indefinitely, or at least for 300 plus years. So that answers the second question, where we know how Dawn is able to survive for at least that long. But even then, surviving on the Dark Continent takes a great deal of skill and luck to be able to make it any sort of amount of time, especially hundreds of years. So now, what is Dawn doing over there as we speak? So far, the information provided is all the information that we know. So from here on out is going to be purely hypothetical, what I believe he's doing. If we take Jing's statement in the manga that Dawn could still be alive and writing, that is what I'm going to assume he is doing right now. I would assume that he is on the west side, exploring, traveling, documenting everything he sees and finds about the west side so that he is able to complete the journey to the new world. However, as we know, the Dark Continent is extremely dangerous, and if the east side has 5 calamities, we can then also assume that the west side has some things that are equally as dangerous, if not more so, than on the east side. And so there is a very real chance that Dawn Freaks could have died on the west side somewhere. But thankfully, Togashi has been writing. According to his Twitter, he has approximately 20 chapters mostly done. And hopefully, by the end of those 20 chapters, we are getting close to the end of the Succession War arc and getting very close to getting off of the Black Whale and getting onto the Dark Continent. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure before you click off this video, you like and subscribe for more.